The night the riders came, Eli Carter knew they weren't stopping to ask questions. He felt it before he heard it, that tightening in the chest, that old warning his father used to call the prairie's whisper. Then the sound arrived. Hooves pounding the frozen ground, too many of them moving fast and angry. Eli stood on the porch of his small ranch house, lantern shaking in his hand, staring into the darkness where the land dipped toward the cottonwoods. He was alone. No hired hands. No neighbors close enough to hear gunfire. Just an aging fence, a tired barn, and a handful of cattle that barely kept food on his table. And riding toward him were men who took first and asked later. Eli swallowed hard. He wasn't a fighter. He wasn't even much of a talker. He was just a man who fixed broken things, fences, old engines, sometimes people, and hoped the world would return the favor. But tonight, the world had come collecting. Before we continue this powerful story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to your channel name here, where every story reminds us that kindness still matters. The riders burst into view at the edge of the field, their silhouettes sharp against the moonlit snow. 5 of them, maybe 6, rifles slung low, faces hidden beneath hats and scarves, raiders. The kind who burned ranches to the ground and told themselves it was just survival. Eli stepped down from the porch, heart hammering. He raised his empty hands, hoping surrender would buy him time. That's when the lead rider pulled hard on the reins. The horse reared, snorting. One by one, the others slowed, then stopped. They weren't looking at Eli, they were staring at the fence. Hung carefully along the weathered wood was a white buffalo hide, old, clean, and unmistakable. It fluttered gently in the cold wind like a quiet warning. For a long moment, no one spoke. "Is that?" one of the riders muttered. Another removed his hat. "It can't be." But it was. The white buffalo hide wasn't decoration, it wasn't a trophy, it was sacred, rare beyond measure, a symbol of peace, prophecy, and promise known across generations and tribes. You didn't touch it lightly. You didn't disrespect it without consequences, if not from men, then from something far older. Eli saw the hesitation ripple through them like a crack in ice. The lead rider dismounted slowly. "Old man," he called, voice rough but uncertain. "Where'd you get that hide?" Eli took a breath. His voice came out steady, though his legs trembled. "It was given to me." The rider's eyes narrowed. "By who?" Eli hesitated, then spoke the truth. "By a woman whose son I saved." The wind seemed to hush. 3 winters earlier, Eli had found a young native boy collapsed near the creek, half frozen and bleeding from a deep leg wound. No questions. No fear. Eli carried him inside, warmed him, stitched the gash with shaking hands, and stayed awake for 2 days until the fever broke. When the boy's mother arrived, eyes sharp with worry, clothes worn thin, Eli refused payment. He told her, "A life saved doesn't need a receipt." Before leaving, she pressed the hide into his hands. "This belonged to my people," she said. "Hang it where harm might come. It will remind others who they are." Eli had never expected it to matter like this. The riders exchanged glances. One spat into the snow, nervous. Another crossed himself. "You expect us to believe that?" Someone scoffed, but his voice lacked conviction. The lead rider studied Eli's face, not the fence, not the hide, but the man standing behind it. "You didn't sell it," he said slowly. "Didn't trade it?" "No," Eli replied. "Didn't feel like it was mine to profit from." Silence again. Then something unexpected happened. The youngest rider, barely more than a boy, swung down from his horse. His eyes were fixed on the hide, but his voice cracked as he spoke. "My grandmother used to tell stories about that," he said. "Said it meant a turning point, that when people ignored it, bad things followed." The lead rider exhaled sharply. "We didn't come for stories." The young man looked at him. "Maybe we should have." For a moment, Eli thought that would be it, that the tension would snap and bullets would fly. He closed his eyes, whispered a quiet prayer he hadn't spoken in years. Then the lead rider did something no one expected. He removed his rifle and leaned it against the fence. "We came thinking this place was easy," he said. "No guards, no guns, just a man alone." His gaze softened just slightly. "But maybe that's the point." One by one, the other riders followed, rifles lowered, horses turned away from the barn. The lead rider met Eli's eyes. "You could have hidden that hide, sold it, used it to scare people." Eli shrugged. "Didn't feel right." The rider nodded once. "That's rare." They mounted their horses, the tension dissolving into something quieter, heavier. As they rode off, the young rider turned back. "Thank you," he said, though he didn't explain for what. When the sound of hooves finally faded, Eli sank onto the porch steps, breath shaking. He hadn't fought. He hadn't threatened. He had simply lived the way he believed, and somehow that had been enough. The next morning, word spread. Not about the raid, but about the ranch with the white buffalo hide. People came by with supplies, with tools, with stories. Some said the raiders had changed their path afterward. Others said they'd broken apart, unable to shake the feeling of that night. Eli never asked. He kept the hide on the fence, because kindness, he realized, doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just hangs quietly in the cold, waiting for the right hearts to remember what it means to be human. And maybe that's the real power.